The eventual return of the 24 crew members of the spy plane, which collided with a mainland fighter jet 10 days ago. This is in spite of the fact that there's been no public indication that the crisis is close to a resolution. U.S. diplomats will tonight hold a fifth meeting with the detained crew members on Hainan Island. New satellite photographs, meanwhile, show trucks lined up near the American spy plane at a military base. Sue Lannan reports from Hainan.
This satellite photo taken by the Iconos space imaging satellite shows the EP-3 spy plane parked on the northern end of the runway at the Lingshui military airfield. Trucks line one side of the plane and the U.S. suspects sophisticated surveillance equipment is being removed. Off the record, U.S. sources say they assume the 24 detained crew members will be flown out of China once the stalemate between Washington and Beijing is resolved. U.S. diplomats sent to Hainan Island to monitor the well-being of the crew are drawing up contingency plans for their evacuation. The military airport in Haikou is just a few minutes away from the military-run guest house, where the crew are being detained.
The crew were not carrying passports while on their surveillance mission. A spokesperson for the diplomats says the Chinese authorities will indicate to the U.S. what travel documents are needed for the crew to leave the country.
One of the options being considered is a chartered plane to evacuate crew members. However, Chinese permission is required for a landing. Reports say while the Americans want the plane to fly directly to the U.S., it may need to transit in Hong Kong or Beijing. The diplomats in Hainan had their fourth meeting with the crew yesterday. They say the team is cohesive and integrated and looking forward to coming home.
We discussed the emotions on both sides. They realize that it's a political situation. They realize that their treatment is quite good in comparison to what it might be. So I asked them to continue that thought.
Meanwhile, travel agents say the standoff is not harming the tourist industry. Hainan government officials have accused the U.S. of damaging tourism with its spy plane missions off the island's coast. But tourists say the row has only increased their interest rather than scared them away. Sue Lannan, TVB News, Haikou, Hainan Island.
The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman said today he did not know if equipment had been removed from the U.S. spy plane. He also repeated calls for an American apology over the incident, while saying an expression of sorrow by Secretary of State Colin Powell is a step in the right direction. From Beijing, Louise Wong reports.
The Foreign Ministry pleaded ignorance over whether equipment had been removed from the EP-3, following speculation after the publication of a satellite photo.
美方的飞机现在没有任何移动，你所说的其他情况我不了解。
Sun Yushi welcomed Secretary of State Colin Powell's expression of sorrow over the fate of missing pilot Wang Wei, but he says it's still not enough.
对于美方所表示的，就是使用这个词所表示的歉意，我认为呢，这是朝着正确的解决问题的正确方向迈出的一步。我们还是坚持认为，美方理应承担全部责任，作出道歉。
Responding to statements by U.S. officials that a prolonged standoff could further damage Sino-U.S. relations, Sun said the U.S. shouldn't further complicate the issue. An academic says the U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell has already given the Chinese side a signal that the Bush administration has come under pressure over the Chinese refusal to release the American crew very soon. It'll mean a tougher stance on an issue that's already a contentious one between the two sides.
It is possible that the Bush administration, in order to solve this issue very soon, to use the arms as a weapon to exert pressure upon China.
The Foreign Ministry spokesman said the U.S. ambassador has been the sole representative of the U.S. government in talks with the Foreign Minister and Assistant Foreign Minister. But by late afternoon today, Ambassador Joseph Prua had not left the embassy. Louise Wong, TVB News, Beijing.
Meanwhile, a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman traveling with President Jiang Zemin in Argentina says the U.S. refusal to apologize for the incidents won't help solve the problem. Jenny Lam reports.
Cordiality between the Chinese and Argentine presidents as Jiang Zemin continues his state visit in Buenos Aires is hiding Chinese anger over the U.S. biplane incident. A foreign ministry spokesman traveling with the president says China attaches great importance to Sino-U.S. ties, but finds the American refusal to apologize unacceptable.
美国作为肇事方，那么理应向中国人民做个交代，理应向中国人民道歉。 对不对？如果这样做的话，那当然也是有利于这件事情的解决；如果不这样做的话呢，将不利于这件事情的解决。
He adds that China, being the victim in the collision, has the right to carry out investigation. Meanwhile, the vice chairman of China's Central Military Commission, Jiang Wannian, has called for a stop to American spying activities around China. Speaking during a visit to New Zealand, he says that will help to avoid a repeat of similar incidents in future. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
In Washington, President George W. Bush again refused to apologize, calling the mid-air collision between the U.S. plane and the Chinese fighter jet an accident. And he's repeated a warning that the standoff, continued standoff, that is, may harm relations between the two countries. More from ABC News.
The president himself seemed frustrated today as he issued a warning to the Chinese.
All of us around this table understand diplomacy takes time. But there is a point, the longer it goes, there's a point at which our relations with China could become damaged.
U.S. officials had hoped that this standoff would be over by now. ABC News has learned that the diplomatic back and forth has been reduced primarily to the United States sending drafts of a letter of joint understanding to the Chinese, and the Chinese sending it back with negative comments. Pentagon sources say the crew told diplomats that the Chinese fighter jet twice tried to buzz or intercept their EP-3, coming as close as 30 feet in the moments before the accident. On the third pass, sources say, while the U.S. plane maintained its course and speed, the two aircraft collided.
And the Chinese version of the collision has been that the American spy plane violated flight rules and turned abruptly, crashing with the Chinese fighter jet.
In other news, a cold front and a northeasterly monsoon will bring cool and chilly weather to Hong Kong for the next couple of days. Tonight, the observer
4月1号上午，王伟执行任务，出发前像往常一样和妻子道别。
他就说我去值班了，我说好，那我说你当心点啊，我说注意安全。
直到晚上7点，王伟还没有回来，妻子开始担心。不久，王伟的单位让他过去一趟。
我一过去，就我一个人嘛，团长、主任还有那个政委，他就把这件事情告诉我了。当时我就非常的难受。
在和平年代，刚刚33岁的海军某航空兵飞行中队长王伟，在中国近海上空正常执行任务，却被美国侦察机撞毁座机，不得不被迫跳伞，下落不明。不只是妻子家人在牵挂着他，全国上上下下都深切地关注着他。江泽民总书记指出，人是最可宝贵的。我对这名飞行员的人身安全十分关心，要不惜一切代价全力搜救。在王伟跳伞之后不到1个小时，搜救飞机就已经出动了。
搜索的重点区域主要是根据王伟同志跳伞的位置确定的。首先就是在确定他的跳伞位置以后，在他的跳伞位置附近，分半径30公里、50公里这个区域不停的搜索。然后再向四周扩大区域。在这个重点搜索的时候，我们最多分了3层飞机在重点区域搜索，然后逐步扩大到50公里半径、80公里半径、100公里半径。
与此同时，交通部和海南省也出动救援力量参与搜救行动。
根据当时的要求，我们的C9-202呢，直奔10启度，42.5分。
就是当时就在这个
和110度10分东经这样的一个盖位进行搜寻。
事件的当天，我们就发出了紧急通知，要求我们海南的渔船啊，要全力以赴，投入海上营救的大行动。
4月1号接到海南省海洋渔业厅的通知后，我们就用電台通知港內的和在海外作業的漁船。
重申事件責任完全在於美方，美國理應道歉同切實防止類似嘅事件。而美國駐華大使普利克就話會以積極態度解決問題。有中國學者就認為中美軍機事件要盡早解決，再拖落去雙方都冇好處。蔡淑儀喺北京報道。
美國駐華大使普利克朝早表示，仍然好努力咁樣尋求解決軍機相撞問題嘅解決方法。喺下晝4點幾，佢再次離開大使館同中國外交部官員見面。翻嚟之後，佢話雙方仍然進行對話。
We are in dialogue with our Chinese counterparts, and we hope we're moving a little closer toward a solution.
中美軍機相撞已經係9日前嘅事，到現時為止，失蹤嘅中國飛行員王偉仍然下落不明。中國官方就連有冇揾到嘅飛機殘骸，亦都冇透露過。我哋嘗試再去北京海軍總醫院探望王偉嘅太太阮國琴，喺嗰度守衛話，阮國琴嘅身體仍然不適。
現在家屬身體恢復得不好，這種精神狀態是吧？他這個也不適合接種採訪。
而北京大學國際關係學院副院長賈慶國就話，日前美國國務卿鮑威爾首次用 sorry 呢個字眼去形容中國機師失蹤，對解決事件係有幫助㗎。但係美國唔正式道歉，中國係唔會接受。而呢個問題唔盡早解決，佢認為對中美關係確實係有壞嘅影響。而到時佢就會為中美關係嘅發展感到悲哀。有線電視記者蔡淑儀喺北京報道。
喺海南省，美國駐華大使館國防武官直樂高晚上7點離開酒店，再同24個美國機組人員見面。咁同之前3次會面唔同，今次佢哋無需事先同中方官員磋商，而係直接去招待所同機員會面。美國官員話會面預計1個小時。另外，使館人員朝早再去幫機員買日用品。顧慧敏喺海口市報道。
美國駐華使館國防武官直樂高話，仍然未收到中方嘅回覆，批准佢哋能夠同24個機組人員每日接觸2次。佢話，除咗會面之外，亦爭取緊透過電子郵件嘅方式同機組人員保持溝通。
We're continuing to deliver the same emails that have come in. I have another pack this morning. We will continue that process, but my concept is to maintain contact with the crew. Thanks very much.
直樂高話：美國國務卿同埋駐華使館嘅人員正不斷努力同中方談判，希望能夠早日釋放24個機組人員。而另一名外交官員就話：喺同機員進行第3次會面嘅時候，中方只係安排8個機員同佢哋見面，但佢唔肯解釋今次中方點解會有咁嘅安排。朝早佢又去到市面買咗啲藥物同埋日用品俾拘留緊嘅機員。佢話：目前託中方轉交俾機員嘅所有物品都要經過中方官員嘅保安檢查，先至可以再轉交俾機員。美國駐華使館方面不斷增派人手嚟到海口市呢一度協助處理同24個機組人員會面同埋安排佢哋離開嘅準備工作。有線電視記者顧慧敏喺海口市報導。
據了解，被扣留嘅美國機員全部都住喺海口市一間屬於空軍嘅招待所裏面，佢哋亦都係喺呢一度同美國使館官員會面。有熟悉招待所內部情況人話，裡面嘅設施簡陋。胡力漢喺海口市報導。
過去3次美國使館同機組人員見面，記者都追蹤到地點就係位於市中心呢個隸屬於空軍嘅南韓部隊第1招待所，隔一條馬路就係軍用機場。呢幾日原本對外開放嘅招待所都上咗大閘，正門口多咗好多便衣公安。記者喺附近一落車，唔係俾人跟實，就係俾一啲掛住公安工作證嘅人士驅趕。夜晚軍車亦都頻頻出入。喺招待所裏面做過接待員嘅退役解放軍向我哋話，招待所開業10年，佢未見過保安咁嚴密。
他以前吧，就是什麼對外營業的，門口他是那什麼，就一個人值班。他一共是什麼3個保安嘛， 2个年轻的，一个年纪大点儿的，就是平常